There is a kind of beauty that does not fade with time. It does not depend on mirrors, approval, or attention. It exists quietly, deeply within. True beauty is often misunderstood because it is measured by what can be seen. People look at the surface, facial features, style, physical appearance, and form their judgments within seconds. But what is visible to the eye is only a small part of a much deeper reality. External beauty can attract attention, but it cannot hold meaning on its own. It is temporary, shaped by time, trends, and circumstances. What is considered beautiful today may not be seen the same way tomorrow. This is why relying only on external beauty creates instability within a person. When someone builds their sense of worth on appearance alone, they become dependent on the opinions of others. Compliments can lift them, but criticism can easily break them. Their confidence becomes fragile, constantly shifting based on how they are perceived. This creates a cycle where they feel the need to maintain an image rather than develop a strong foundation within themselves. Over time, this can lead to exhaustion because trying to meet external expectations is never ending. Inner beauty, however, does not depend on approval. It is not something that can be taken away by age, comparison, or changing standards. It is built through qualities such as kindness, patience, honesty, resilience, and self-awareness. These are not things that can be applied like makeup or worn like clothing. They are developed through experience, reflection, and conscious effort. A woman who invests in these qualities begins to radiate a different kind of presence, one that does not need validation to exist. There is a quiet strength in someone who understands this. She does not feel the need to compete with others because she is not trying to prove her worth through appearance. Instead, she focuses on becoming stable within herself. She becomes aware of her thoughts, her emotions, and her actions. She learns to respond instead of react. This creates a sense of calm that is far more attractive than any external feature. External beauty can draw people in, but it is inner beauty that makes them stay. When someone is compassionate, respectful, and grounded, others feel safe around them. There is a sense of authenticity that cannot be faked. It is not about trying to impress, but about being genuine. This kind of beauty creates deeper connections because it is rooted in truth rather than illusion. It is also important to understand that inner beauty grows stronger over time. While physical appearance may change, the qualities developed within continue to deepen. Challenges, failures, and hardships all contribute to this growth. Each experience teaches something valuable, shaping a person's character. Instead of weakening them, these moments refine them, making their inner foundation even stronger. A woman who understands the value of inner beauty begins to shift her focus. She no longer spends all her energy trying to look perfect. Instead, she invests in her mindset, her discipline, and her emotional balance. She becomes more mindful of how she treats others and how she treats herself. She understands that true beauty is reflected in her actions, her words, and her presence. This does not mean that external appearance has no importance. It simply means that it should not be the foundation of one's identity. When inner beauty is strong, external beauty becomes a reflection of that inner state, not a replacement for it. There is harmony between how a person looks and who they are within. Over time, this creates a sense of confidence that is not easily shaken. It is not based on comparison or competition, but on self-understanding. A woman who carries this kind of beauty does not need to seek attention because her presence naturally draws respect. She does not need to prove anything because her actions speak clearly. She moves through life with a quiet assurance, knowing that what she has built within herself is far more valuable than anything that can be seen on the surface. Inner strength does not reveal itself when life is comfortable. It does not appear when everything is going according to plan, when people are kind, and when circumstances are easy. In those moments, anyone can seem calm, confident, and composed. But true inner strength begins to show when life becomes uncertain, when expectations are broken, and when challenges arise without warning. It is in these moments that a woman is faced with a choice. She can either allow the situation to control her, or she can choose how she responds to it. This choice is not always easy because pain has a way of pulling reactions out of us. Disappointment can lead to frustration. Betrayal can lead to anger, and loss can lead to deep sadness. These emotions are natural, but inner strength is reflected in how they are managed, not in whether they exist. A woman who is developing inner strength does not deny her emotions, but she also does not become controlled by them. She observes what she feels without immediately reacting. This creates a space between the experience and the response. In that space, there is awareness. And in awareness, there is control. Instead of reacting impulsively, she begins to act with intention. When faced with criticism, she does not immediately become defensive. She listens, reflects, and decides whether the criticism holds value. If it does, she uses it as a tool for growth. If it does not, she lets it pass without allowing it to disturb her peace. This ability to remain steady, even when judged or misunderstood, is a clear sign of inner strength. When she experiences failure, she does not see it as a reflection of her worth. She understands that failure is part of the process of growth. Instead of collapsing under it, she learns from it. She asks herself what can be improved, what can be done differently, and how she can move forward with greater awareness. In this way, challenges do not break her, they refine her. There are also moments when she must walk away from situations that no longer serve her. This can be one of the most difficult expressions of inner strength. It requires letting go of attachments, expectations, and sometimes even people she once valued. But she understands that holding on to what disturbs her peace will only weaken her over time. So she chooses distance, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Inner strength is also visible in patience. In a world that encourages immediate results and quick reactions, choosing to wait, to observe, and to move carefully is not common. But a strong woman understands that not everything needs an immediate response. Some situations require time, reflection, and stillness. By not rushing, she avoids unnecessary mistakes and maintains control over her direction. There is a quiet resilience in how she carries herself through difficult times. She does not need to announce her struggles or seek sympathy to validate her pain. She handles what she must, step by step, without losing her sense of self. This does not mean she never feels overwhelmed. But even in those moments, she does not allow herself to be consumed completely. She regains balance again and again. Over time, these experiences build a deep sense of confidence. Not the kind that comes from external success, but the kind that comes from knowing she can handle whatever life brings. She trusts herself, not because life is predictable, but because she has learned how to remain steady within unpredictability. This is what makes inner strength so powerful. It is not about avoiding difficulty, but about facing it with awareness and control. It is not about being unaffected, but about not being defined by what happens. A woman who develops this strength becomes grounded in a way that cannot be easily shaken. Her stability does not come from the outside world, but from the way she has trained herself to respond to it. Self-awareness is the foundation of a stable identity. Without it, a person becomes easily influenced by the voices around them. Opinions, expectations, and judgments begin to shape how they see themselves. When a woman does not take the time to understand who she is within, she slowly starts becoming a reflection of what others want her to be. This process is subtle and often happens without realization. From a young age, there are constant messages about how one should look, behave, and live. Society, family, and social circles all contribute to these expectations. If there is no strong sense of self, these external influences begin to take control. A woman may start adjusting her personality to be accepted, changing her values to fit in, and making decisions based on approval rather than understanding. Over time, this creates confusion because she is no longer living in alignment with her true nature. Self-awareness requires honesty. It is the ability to sit with yourself and observe your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns, and your behaviors without distraction. This is not always comfortable. There may be habits that need to be questioned, beliefs that need to be challenged, and truths that are difficult to accept. But without this process, growth cannot take place. When a woman becomes more self-aware, she begins to recognize what truly matters to her. She understands her values, not the ones given to her by others, but the ones she has consciously chosen. These values then become her guide. Decisions are no longer made out of fear of rejection or desire for approval, but from a place of clarity. This creates a strong inner direction that is not easily shaken by external pressure. Self-awareness also allows her to understand her emotional responses. Instead of reacting blindly, she begins to see why she feels a certain way. She notices patterns, what triggers her, what drains her, and what gives her energy. With this understanding, she gains the ability to manage her emotions more effectively. She is no longer controlled by them because she understands them. Another important aspect of self-awareness is recognizing strengths and weaknesses. A woman who lacks awareness may either underestimate herself or overestimate herself, both of which create imbalance. But when she sees herself clearly, she knows where she stands. She can build on her strengths with confidence and work on her weaknesses without denial. This creates a sense of grounded confidence, not based on illusion, but on truth. Without self-awareness, boundaries become weak. It becomes difficult to say no because there is uncertainty about what should be accepted and what should not. A woman may tolerate disrespect, overextend herself, or remain in situations that do not align with her well-being. But when she understands herself, her limits become clear. She knows what she is willing to accept and what she must walk away from. This clarity protects her from being shaped by harmful environments. There is also a sense of independence that comes with self-awareness. It is not about isolation, but about not relying on others to define your identity. A self-aware woman does not need constant reassurance to feel secure. She does not depend on external validation to confirm her worth. She understands who she is, and this understanding becomes her anchor. Over time, this awareness creates consistency. Her actions, words, and decisions begin to align with her inner values. There is no need to pretend or perform because she is no longer trying to fit into expectations that do not belong to her. This authenticity creates a quiet confidence that others can feel. When a woman lacks self-awareness, she may spend years trying to meet standards that do not truly reflect her. But when she develops it, she begins to live with intention. She stops asking, "What do others expect of me?" and starts asking, "What is true for me?" In that shift, she reclaims control over her identity and direction, no longer allowing the outside world to define who she is becoming. Self-respect changes the way a woman moves through the world. It is not something that is demanded from others. It is something that is established within. When self-respect is present, there is no constant need to seek validation because worth is no longer dependent on how others respond. Without it, however, a person can easily fall into patterns of chasing approval, trying to gain attention, and adjusting themselves to be accepted. The need for validation often comes from uncertainty within. When a woman is not fully secure in who she is, she begins to look outward for confirmation. Compliments become necessary, attention becomes comforting, and approval becomes something she relies on. This creates a cycle where her sense of value rises and falls depending on how others treat her. If she is praised, she feels worthy. If she is ignored or criticized, she begins to question herself. Self-respect breaks this cycle. It creates a steady foundation that does not shift based on external reactions. A woman who respects herself does not need constant reassurance because she has already acknowledged her own value. She knows what she brings, what she stands for, and what she deserves. This understanding allows her to move with a quiet confidence that is not easily disturbed. When self-respect is strong, there is a natural shift in behavior. She no longer feels the need to chase people who show little interest. She does not overextend herself to gain approval or remain in situations where she is not valued. Instead, she becomes more selective with her time, energy, and attention. This is not arrogance, it is clarity. She understands that her presence has value, and she chooses to place it where it is respected. There is also a difference in how she communicates. A woman with self-respect does not struggle to express her boundaries. She can say no without guilt and speak her truth without fear of rejection. This does not mean she is harsh or unkind, but she is clear. She does not sacrifice her well-being to keep others comfortable. She understands that constantly putting others first while neglecting herself leads to imbalance. Without self-respect, it becomes easy to tolerate behavior that should not be accepted. Disrespect, inconsistency, and lack of effort may be overlooked in the hope that things will change. But this often leads to deeper frustration, because the more one accepts less, the more it becomes the standard. A woman who respects herself recognizes these patterns early. She does not wait until she is completely drained to take action. She addresses what needs to be addressed or removes herself from the situation. Self-respect also influences the way she sees herself during difficult moments. When she makes mistakes or faces failure, she does not immediately fall into self-criticism. She takes responsibility, but she does not attack her own worth. There is a balance between accountability and compassion. She understands that growth requires patience, and she allows herself the space to improve without losing her sense of value. Another important aspect of self-respect is discipline. It is reflected in the choices she makes daily, how she manages her time, how she takes care of her mind and body, and how she handles her responsibilities all contribute to her sense of self. By maintaining discipline, she reinforces her own standards. She proves to herself that she can be trusted to act in alignment with her values. Over time, this creates a form of independence that is not dependent on external validation. She no longer seeks approval as a source of confidence because she has built that confidence through her own actions and understanding. This does not mean she becomes distant or disconnected from others. It simply means that her sense of worth is no longer in their hands. A woman with self-respect does not need to prove her value through words or effort alone. It is reflected in how she carries herself, in the decisions she makes, and in what she chooses to accept or reject. She understands that her worth is not something to be negotiated. And because of that, she moves through life with a sense of stability that cannot be easily shaken by the opinions of others. Discipline is often misunderstood as something strict or restrictive, but in reality, It is the foundation of inner beauty and strength. Without discipline, intentions remain weak, emotions become overwhelming, and actions lose direction. A woman may have good thoughts, kind intentions, and strong desires to grow, but without discipline, these qualities cannot be sustained. They fade under pressure, distraction, and inconsistency. Inner beauty is not something that appears instantly. It is built over time through repeated choices, especially in moments when it is difficult to choose correctly. Discipline is what allows a woman to stay aligned with her values, even when her emotions push her in a different direction. It is the ability to pause, to observe, and to act with awareness rather than impulse. Emotions are powerful, and without discipline, they can easily take control. Anger may lead to harsh words, frustration may lead to poor decisions, and sadness may lead to withdrawal or self-doubt. A disciplined woman does not eliminate these emotions, but she learns how to manage them. She does not react immediately. Instead, she creates space between what she feels and how she responds. In that space, she regains control. This control is not about suppression. Suppressing emotions only hides them temporarily, allowing them to grow stronger beneath the surface. Discipline, on the other hand, is about understanding emotions without being controlled by them. It is about allowing yourself to feel while still choosing actions that reflect your values. This balance creates stability, and over time, it strengthens the mind. Patience is another form of discipline that contributes to inner beauty. In a world that encourages immediate results and constant stimulation, waiting with awareness is not easy. Many people react quickly, speak without thinking, and make decisions without reflection. A disciplined woman moves differently. She does not rush into every situation. She observes, listens, and allows things to unfold before taking action. This patience prevents unnecessary conflict and protects her from making decisions she may later regret. Discipline is also reflected in the ability to walk away from what disturbs inner peace. This requires strength because attachment can make it difficult to let go. Whether it is a habit, an environment, or a relationship, choosing distance is not always comfortable, but a woman who is disciplined understands that not everything deserves her energy. She recognizes when something is no longer aligned with her well-being and takes action. Even if it is difficult, daily habits play a significant role in shaping inner beauty. The way a woman starts her day, how she manages her time, and how she treats herself all contribute to her internal state. Discipline ensures that these habits are consistent. It is not about perfection, but about effort and awareness. Small, repeated actions, such as practicing gratitude, maintaining focus, and caring for one's mental and physical health, gradually build a strong foundation. There is also discipline in silence. Not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every situation requires a response. A disciplined woman understands the value of restraint. She chooses her words carefully, knowing that once they are spoken, they cannot be taken back. This awareness creates a sense of calm and respect in her interactions. Over time, discipline becomes a form of self-trust. Each time she chooses awareness over impulse, patience over reaction, and clarity over confusion, she reinforces her ability to rely on herself. This builds confidence, not the kind that seeks attention, but the kind that remains steady in all situations. Inner beauty, when supported by discipline, becomes something stable and lasting. It is no longer dependent on mood, circumstance, or external influence. It becomes a part of who she is. Her actions reflect her values, her responses reflect her awareness, and her presence reflects her control. Through discipline, a woman shapes her character intentionally. She is no longer reacting to life without direction, but moving through it with purpose. This creates a quiet strength that is visible in everything she does, not because she tries to display it, but because it has become natural to her way of being. Pain is something no one can avoid. It comes in different forms: disappointment, rejection, loss, failure, and it often arrives without warning. Many people try to escape it, distract themselves from it, or deny it completely. But pain does not disappear when it is ignored. It stays, quietly shaping thoughts, emotions, and behaviors from within. The difference is not in whether pain exists, but in how it is faced. When pain is resisted, it tends to grow heavier. A woman who avoids her struggles may find herself repeating the same patterns without understanding why. Unresolved experiences begin to influence her reactions, making her more sensitive, more guarded, or more reactive. Over time, this can create confusion because the source of her behavior is no longer clear. She may feel overwhelmed without fully understanding what she is carrying inside. But when pain is faced with awareness, something begins to shift. Instead of running from it, she turns toward it. She allows herself to feel what is present without immediately trying to change it. This requires courage because it is not easy to sit with discomfort. It is not easy to acknowledge hurt, to accept disappointment, or to admit vulnerability. But in that honest acknowledgement, there is the beginning of transformation. Pain has a way of revealing what is hidden. It brings attention to expectations, attachments, and beliefs that may have gone unnoticed before. For example, rejection can reveal a dependency on approval. Failure can expose unrealistic expectations. Loss can uncover deep attachments. When these things are brought into awareness, they can be understood more clearly. Without pain, these areas might remain hidden, continuing to influence life without being questioned. A woman who chooses awareness begins to ask different questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" she begins to ask, "What is this teaching me?" This shift in perspective changes the entire experience. Pain is no longer seen as something purely negative, but as something that carries meaning. It becomes a source of insight rather than just suffering. Through this process, emotional strength begins to develop. Each time she faces a difficult experience consciously, she becomes more capable of handling future challenges. What once felt overwhelming slowly becomes manageable. This does not mean that pain disappears, but her relationship with it changes. She is no longer controlled by it because she understands it. There is also a deepening of empathy that comes from experiencing and understanding pain. A woman who has faced her own struggles with awareness becomes more compassionate toward others. She recognizes that everyone carries something unseen. This understanding softens her perspective. Instead of reacting with judgment, she responds with patience. Instead of dismissing others' experiences, she listens with presence. Pain also refines priorities. When life is comfortable, it is easy to focus on things that do not truly matter. But difficult experiences bring clarity. They highlight what is important and what is not. A woman who has gone through hardship often becomes more intentional with her time, her energy, and her relationships. She no longer wastes herself on things that do not align with her values. There is a strengthening of identity that comes through this process. When she moves through pain with awareness, she begins to understand herself more deeply. She sees how she reacts, what she fears, and what she values. This understanding creates a stronger sense of self because it is based on real experience rather than assumption. She is no longer guessing who she is discovering it through what she has faced. It is also important to recognize that transformation does not happen instantly. It is a gradual process. There may be moments of clarity, followed by moments of confusion. There may be progress followed by setbacks. but each step taken with awareness contributes to growth. Even small realizations can create meaningful change over time. A woman who learns to face pain consciously becomes more resilient. She does not break easily under pressure because she has already developed the ability to sit with discomfort. She knows that difficult moments are temporary and that they carry the potential for growth. This understanding creates a sense of stability. Even in uncertain situations, pain, when approached with awareness, becomes a teacher. It shows where change is needed, where understanding is lacking, and where growth is possible. Instead of being something that weakens her, it becomes something that strengthens her from within. Each experience adds depth to her character, making her more grounded, more aware, and more capable of navigating life with clarity. Over time, this process transforms not only how she handles pain, but how she sees life itself. Challenges are no longer viewed as obstacles alone, but as opportunities to deepen understanding. Struggles are no longer avoided, but approached with a willingness to learn. In this way, pain becomes a path, not one that is chosen, but one that, when walked with awareness, leads to wisdom and inner strength. The way a woman carries herself leaves a lasting impression on everyone around her, far beyond what can be seen on the surface. While appearances may catch attention momentarily, it is her energy and presence that people remember. This energy is a reflection of her inner state, how she thinks, how she feels, and how she responds to the world. When a woman is grounded, aware and confident, her presence communicates strength and calmness that cannot be ignored. It draws people in naturally, not because she is trying to impress, but because her being resonates with authenticity. Presence is cultivated through self-awareness. A woman who understands herself, her values, and her boundaries carries an energy that is consistent. She does not fluctuate wildly based on others' opinions or the changing circumstances around her. There is a steadiness in her movements, a clarity in her words, and a calmness in her demeanor. People feel it intuitively, even if they cannot articulate it. This kind of energy is magnetic because it signals stability, integrity, and inner balance. Energy is also shaped by how a woman manages her emotions. Those who react impulsively, who allow anger, fear, or insecurity to dominate, create tension in their presence. Others may sense unease, conflict, or volatility, even if the person appears composed externally. In contrast, a woman who has learned to observe her emotions, who responds thoughtfully rather than reacting automatically, radiates a calm strength. This does not mean she is emotionless. Rather, her emotions are acknowledged, understood, and expressed with intention. This controlled energy is powerful because it conveys maturity and awareness. Presence is reinforced through intention. Every action, gesture, and word communicates more than just its surface meaning. A woman who speaks thoughtfully, listens attentively, and acts with clarity demonstrates a form of presence that feels significant. People do not just notice what she says. They feel the weight and authenticity behind it. Presence is less about physicality and more about alignment between her inner state and outer expression. When a woman's thoughts, values, and behaviors are aligned, her energy naturally becomes magnetic and memorable. Another aspect of presence is the subtlety of confidence. Confidence is not always loud or boastful. Often it is quiet, calm, and unobtrusive. A woman who is confident does not need to dominate conversations or demand attention. Her confidence is reflected in her posture, her composure, and her ability to remain steady in challenging situations. This quiet confidence is deeply attractive because it signals self-reliance and inner strength. People are drawn to someone who does not seek validation because they radiate security and trustworthiness. Presence is also shaped by empathy and understanding. A woman who is aware of others' feelings and perspectives creates an energy that is inviting and safe. People feel seen and respected in her presence, which amplifies her lasting impact. This does not mean she sacrifices herself for others. Rather, she maintains her own boundaries while remaining attentive and responsive. This balance between self-respect and empathy enhances her presence, making her memorable not just for who she is, but for how she makes others feel. Energy can also be influenced by discipline and self-care. How she manages her mind, body, and habits directly affects her state of being. A woman who invests in her mental clarity, emotional regulation, and physical well-being carries an energy that is consistent and resilient. She does not crumble under minor setbacks because her energy has been intentionally cultivated over time. This presence is grounded, not fragile, and it communicates reliability and strength. Ultimately, presence is an outward reflection of inner cultivation. While external beauty may fade, the energy a woman radiates remains. People may forget details of appearance, but they remember how she made them feel. This lasting impression is not created by effort to impress, but by the consistent development of her inner state. Calmness, awareness, empathy, confidence, and alignment create an energy that is unforgettable. A woman who carries herself with this kind of presence leaves a mark that cannot be erased. Mastery of self is the cornerstone of timeless beauty. It is not about controlling others or forcing circumstances to align with one's desires. It is about developing awareness, discipline, and clarity in every aspect of life. When a woman masters herself, she becomes unshakable because her sense of stability comes from within, rather than from the fluctuating approval, attention, or expectations of others. This internal strength shapes how she thinks, speaks, and acts, creating a presence that is quietly powerful and deeply attractive. Self-mastery begins with awareness. A woman who is attuned to herself notices her thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. She observes what drives her reactions, what triggers her fears, and what motivates her decisions. This awareness allows her to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. She understands that every action she takes either strengthens her inner foundation or weakens it. By observing herself consistently, she gains insight into her patterns and begins to shape her life with intention. Discipline is another critical component. Mastery of self requires consistent effort over time. It is reflected in daily choices, how she manages her emotions, maintains her habits, and interacts with others. Discipline is not about rigidity or suppression. It is about creating alignment between her values and actions. A woman who practices self-discipline prioritizes her growth, nurtures her mind and body, and maintains boundaries that protect her energy. Each small, conscious choice reinforces her confidence and integrity. Self-mastery also involves emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and challenges, failures, and disappointments are inevitable. A woman who masters herself does not let external events dictate her inner state. She experiences pain and difficulty fully, but does not allow them to define her. Instead, she examines what each experience can teach her, using it as a tool for growth. By regulating her emotions, rather than being overwhelmed by them, she maintains stability in situations that might unbalance others. Clarity of purpose emerges naturally from self-mastery. When a woman understands who she is and what she values, she no longer drifts aimlessly or conforms to external pressures. Her decisions, priorities, and relationships are guided by this clarity. She does not waste energy seeking approval or trying to fit into roles that do not resonate with her true self. This alignment between inner awareness and external actions creates a sense of authenticity that others recognize immediately. Boundaries are a natural outcome of self-mastery. A woman who understands herself knows what she will accept and what she will not. She can protect her time, energy, and emotional well-being without guilt. These boundaries are not walls of separation, but structures that ensure she remains grounded in her principles. By maintaining these limits, she avoids situations and relationships that would destabilize her, preserving her inner strength and reinforcing her sense of worth. Self-mastery also influences how she interacts with others. A woman who is grounded within herself does not compete unnecessarily, seek validation, or manipulate situations to her advantage. She engages with respect, empathy, and clarity. Others naturally feel safe and respected around her because she brings stability and authenticity into every interaction. Her presence is steady, and her influence is felt without effort, not through force, but through alignment and awareness. Ultimately, mastery of self allows a woman to live with quiet confidence. She does not need to prove her worth to anyone because she already knows it. She does not need to control outcomes or chase approval because her foundation is secure. Every thought, word, and action reflects her inner strength. This stability and awareness make her untouchable by external chaos. She becomes timeless in the sense that her beauty is not fleeting, tied to appearance or circumstance, but anchored in the depth of her character and the mastery of her inner world. Her mastery is reflected in her calmness during adversity, her clarity in decision-making, her ability to respect herself and others, and her consistent alignment with her values. It is this integration of awareness, discipline, emotional resilience, and authenticity that creates a presence that cannot be shaken and a beauty that truly lasts beyond the surface. In conclusion, the timeless beauty every woman carries within is not measured by appearances, accolades, or the approval of others. It is cultivated through self-awareness, discipline, emotional resilience, and mastery of the self. This inner strength allows a woman to stand with dignity in the face of challenges, to act with intention rather than reaction, and to navigate life with clarity and calm. True beauty is not fleeting. It grows deeper with every conscious choice, every hardship faced, and every moment spent aligning with one's values. When a woman respects herself, masters her emotions, and carries her presence with authenticity, she radiates a power that cannot be diminished. This is the beauty that lasts, the beauty that inspires, and the beauty that transforms not only her life, but also the lives of those around her.